I need help, please. 4 words. Ryan has typed them more times than he can remember. He's never sent them. Here's the strange part. He isn't afraid that nobody will answer. He's afraid that somebody will. Because if someone says yes, Ryan has to do something he's spent his whole life avoiding. He has to admit he actually needs them. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why that's so terrifying. And you might realize you've been avoiding the same thing. Ryan is the guy everyone calls first. Shows up with his truck at 2 a.m. when your car dies on the highway, never asks why, just comes. Here's the contradiction nobody notices. Everyone in Ryan's life can rely on him. Ryan can't rely on anyone. It's a Tuesday, nothing dramatic. He loses a client at work. His landlord raises the rent without warning. His mom calls crying about a health scare that turns out to be nothing, and he spends 40 minutes talking her down anyway. By 9 that night, Ryan is on his kitchen floor. He opens his contacts. 19 names. 19 people who would pick up if he called right now. He can't call a single one of them. He opens a new message instead. Types 4 words. I need help, please. He looks at it, deletes it. This isn't the first time. He typed those same words 3 weeks ago, and 8 months before that. Same 4 words, same result. Delete. To understand why, you have to go back. Not weeks, years. Ryan is 10 years old. His parents are splitting up. The house has gone quiet in a way that feels heavier than yelling ever did. One night, he walks into the living room and says, I feel really sad. Not asking for much, just wanting someone to notice. His dad, exhausted, doesn't even look up from the TV. Not right now, Ryan. I've got enough going on. It wasn't cruelty, just a tired man having a bad night. But a 10-year-old doesn't hear, my dad is struggling. He hears something else, something smaller, something that makes sense to a child in the way only painful things make sense to a child. And 18 years later, that sentence is still running his life. I'm too much. Pause here for a second. Was there a moment like that for you? You might not remember the exact day, but somewhere back there, you learned that asking cost more than staying quiet. Here's what most people get wrong about that moment. They think Ryan just stopped having needs. He didn't. When you learn early that having needs creates tension, you don't stop needing things. You just get better at hiding it. You become useful, reliable, the one everyone can count on. You solve people's problems before they even have to ask you for help. Because if you're always the one giving, nobody ever gets the chance to leave you for needing too much. And somewhere in there, something strange happens. Being needed starts to feel safer than needing. That's not a personality trait. That's not just how Ryan is. That's a 10-year-old boy's survival strategy, still running on autopilot 20 years later. Back to the kitchen floor. Ryan stands up, splashes water on his face, makes coffee for the next morning, goes to bed. He doesn't tell anyone. He just gets quieter. Replies take longer. Plans get cancelled with some version of swamped this week. Nobody can point to one moment and say something is wrong. It's a dimmer switch, turned down slowly enough that nobody notices the room going dark. He doesn't want to be alone. He just doesn't know how to let anyone in without it costing him something. 3 weeks of that. Then Marcus shows up at his apartment, unannounced. 2 days of silence is more than he's used to from Ryan. Ryan opens the door swinging open, Ryan's face saying more than he means it to. How long have you been like this? I'm fine. Ryan, I'm just tired. You've ignored me for 2 days. I've been busy. Marcus looks at him, doesn't blink. You really want me to believe that? Ryan says nothing. And then, quietly, almost like it surprises him to hear himself say it, I don't know how to ask. Marcus doesn't move for a second. Then he sits down across from him. I've been there for you for 11 years, he says, and you won't even let me be there for you for one night? You'll drive across town for anybody else at 2 a.m., not for yourself. He pauses. That makes me feel like you don't actually trust me. Ryan wants to argue. He wants to say, "That's not it, I do trust you, But the sentence doesn't finish, because Marcus is right, and some part of Ryan has known it for 18 years. "You keep saying you're protecting us from your problems," Marcus says, "but you're not protecting us. You're just keeping us out." That's the sentence that finally lands. You'd think that's the end of the story. Ryan finally understands. Cue the music, roll credits. It isn't. 2 weeks later, Ryan has another bad day, and he does exactly what he's always done. He goes quiet, doesn't answer, tells Marcus he's fine. He knew better. He understood the pattern. He'd said the words out loud in his own kitchen. None of that stopped him from doing it again. Here's the part nobody tells you about breaking a pattern like this. Understanding why you do something doesn't automatically stop you from doing it. Knowing the wall exists doesn't make it come down. So what actually changes it? Not a breakthrough, not one conversation. Something much smaller, repeated enough times that it starts to feel less like danger and more like normal. Ryan starts with a 2-second pause. "How are you?" First attempt. Marcus texts, "How are you?" Ryan starts typing, "I'm good." Stops, deletes it. "Actually, no. Today was rough." He sends it before he can talk himself out of it. Second attempt, a few days later. He types, "Can I call you?" Deletes it, types it again, sits with his thumb over send for almost a full minute. Sends it. Third attempt, weeks after that. He asks for something small, not a crisis, not an emergency, just, "Hey, can you help me move this weekend?" That one shouldn't feel like anything. For most people, it doesn't. For Ryan, it feels like jumping off something high. Nobody leaves. Nobody thinks less of him. If anything, Marcus starts treating him differently. Not with less respect, with more closeness. Because the version of Ryan he's getting now isn't a performance anymore. It's real. If you're the one who answers every call but never makes one for yourself, if you hand out advice but never ask for any, if you've said, "I'm fine," so many times it's stopped feeling like a lie, even though it still is one, this is you. The wall isn't weakness. It's a scared kid who did everything he could to keep you safe. He got you this far. That's worth something. He just doesn't have to run things anymore. Ryan still has those 4 words somewhere in his head. "I need help, please." They're not sitting in his drafts anymore. He sent them, eventually. Not because asking suddenly got easy. It didn't. It probably never will, not completely. He just stopped confusing the feeling of being a burden with actually being one. Needing someone isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the first honest thing you've let yourself say in years.